everybody. This video suggests that Christians are under no dietary restrictions, and this is a pretty widespread perspective within contemporary Christianity. But it's also a handy illustration of the fact that the biblical text has to be negotiated with. It's an inevitability, because the New Testament actually directly contradicts itself regarding this. Paul says it doesn't matter, but the Jerusalem Council said it absolutely mattered, and that all Christians were under obligation to abstain from idols, from fornication, and from blood, from consuming blood, because according to Leviticus, the life is in the blood. Now, that prohibition has been negotiated away for many centuries because it stopped being significant. It stopped bringing more meaning or utility to the gospel or to the biblical text. And this is just an illustration of the fact that the Bible is not univocal, is not consistent, and if we want to extract consistent, unified principles from it, we have to sit down and decide which texts we are going to consider relevant and which texts we're going to prioritize and which texts we are going to subordinate, we're going to reinterpret, or we're going to ignore altogether. The Bible has to be negotiated with. There's no way around it.
So this video is actually a really good illustration of how theological conservatives look at the Bible versus theological liberals. So, this gentleman looks at the fact that Christians today don't see dietary issues as significant for Christian living. And he points out that, well, in the New Testament, they got rid of the whole, food laws thing, but you still had this Jerusalem Council recommending that they not eat food that still had blood in it. And there was this issue about food sacrificed to idols. And he says, well, we're just negotiating with the text. We got rid of the things that didn't seem relevant anymore. That's the way a theological liberal looks at the text. A theological conservative says, well, no, look at it contextually. What's going on here is we have a change where the law is basically done away with. And so now there's a question. What do we do in order to live together? And as Jews and Gentiles who have different cultural concerns and potential conflicts. And so there's recommendations that the Jerusalem Council makes, basically specific areas that are likely to create conflict. And incidentally, they go back to laws in Leviticus that had to do with laws that basically strangers who were Gentiles living within Israel would be expected to keep. And so the food with blood in it, or sorry, meat with blood in it, was one of those expectations. So they weren't expected to eat kosher, but they weren't allowed to eat food with blood in it. So it was this thing that was a guideline that the Jerusalem Council adapted to say, well, this is one way, one law that we can sort of keep going just for the practical purpose of Gentiles and Jews living together. Now, contextually, that makes sense. It's not significant anymore. It's not a concern for Jews and Gentiles living together today. That's not negotiating with the text and getting rid of the things that we don't think are significant anymore. It's just reading it contextually. Now, perhaps a liberal will say, well, that's harmonization. Well, yeah, we assume that Scripture is, has one divine author as well as these various human authors. There's a trajectory and there are shifts over time. The New Testament suggests that the law is done away with, the Old Covenant is done away with. So there's change, but it's still a trajectory and a divine author and divinely inspired. So there is, in one sense, going to be an ability to harmonize the text to make sense of it. And liberals just don't think the text can do that.